Thank you for clicking on the video. This is actually, I'm going to talk about the story actually behind my book, which is actually called Between Pews. The book was actually released April the 20th of 2013. Um, the book it started was weird because it started off actually it had a different title. It was actually called Church Folk was the original title. But there was another I found in my search. There's another African American author, it's a female, who actually had used that title a few years back. Not a long, long time, but just a few years back. And there's no real big deal with that. You can actually do that, and because all my books are actually uh, listed at the Library of Congress and all of that, so you can actually do that. You can use the title again, but that was just something that I didn't want to do. Even some of the story kind of seemed a little bit similar. So I kind of sat it down for a minute and then I rethought the whole thing. And then I ended up changing the whole format of the book. Um, the book actually took 7 months total to write. And it was weird because chapter 7 literally became chapter 1 in the process of all of this. The whole book was actually inspired by a poem that I wrote about a pastor with crooked, ungodly ways. So that's kind of how that ended up happening. The book was written completely out of chronological order. Like I said, it was actually written chapter by chapter. I actually had just wrote chapter by chapter, and then I just kind of meshed them together. It was weird. It's probably something that I probably would never be able to do again. But for whatever reason, it just worked. I put it all together, and when I did my proofreading, and like I said, it was written out of chronological order originally. When I put it all together, and I went back, I said, I know that this is going to be a mess. Actually, getting this all together and making it just flow. There were actually just two things that I had to actually change in the whole process. It didn't take but a couple hours to do the proofreading and the whole. It was weird. It was something I guess was just supposed to happen. I literally almost shelved the book a couple times. And my mom was the one that kept saying, no, 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 no. I've been waiting on this. I've been waiting for it to be done. And I want to see what it is. And then I got all the way to the end and I was still questioning myself. And I said, I'm just going to shelf it. And she's like, no, give me the transcript. Let me read it. Let me see what's really going on. I'm like, no, no, no. Anyway, I decided to do it, and to this day, it is actually um, my mom's favorite book of all the ones that I've actually written. So I guess I did something right there. But the whole thing is it's based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I actually live, and there are actually real places that are here that are actually mentioned in the book. It's a fiction story, but the places are actually real. Uh, there's actually this is my fourth book, so it actually has guest appearances from a couple of my characters from my first little series. So it actually does have some guest appearances for people who have actually read the Loving Topaz series. So that's kind of a thing that I just threw in there. Um, But anyway, as far as the places that I actually mentioned a salon that I used to work in years ago called Flossie's Hair Care. That's actually mentioned. That is a real place here in Pittsburgh. Um, the Rivers Casino, I actually mentioned. That's a real place. Um, Carmine's Restaurant, which is actually a local restaurant that's actually owned by a very good friend of mine that I went to middle school and high school with, named Carlene, and her husband, Michael. So it's actually a real place. And I didn't even talk to her about it because I actually had spoken of the restaurant in the best light anyway. All the places I spoke of in good light. So I was really worried about that. But I don't know why I chose her restaurant, but I did. The restaurant is flawless. They do really, really good soul food and that kind of thing. And I really didn't give thought to it. I just was just writing and it just came up. But um, I actually did get a picture with Carlene with her copy of the book and all of that. And since the book was released, she's actually had customers actually come into the restaurant that had read the book, and actually, so it worked. They read the book and they came for the first time and tried out the restaurant and loved the restaurant too. So it all worked out. So that happened. That was really exciting for me here locally. And I was also featured on a PCTV 21 television show, which is actually, that's a local channel here. The show's called The Mish Connection. And I actually did a small piece from the book, and did an interview about the book. So that actually, sparked some local people to actually want to go to car buys as well. So I was kind of glad that that actually happened. And then as far as the Mish Connection, you could actually look her up. She actually has if you look up the Mish Connection, MISH, she actually, the lady who takes care of that, her name is Michelle. She actually has a YouTube channel too, so you can go look at and check her out and subscribe to her channel. Anyway, so back to the book. The book itself, I'll tell you what actually kind of went on. The book is basically about the main character actually moves to the town, to Pittsburgh, and he works for a magazine. And he had just started going to this church. And the church is not a real place. I actually made the church up, Mount Bentley. And I Googled it and everything to make sure it really didn't exist. So it does not exist. It is a fictitious name. He basically just started going to that church. And something happened and the church ends up burning down to the ground. So the church has been around forever. So what he ends up doing, he decides to pay homage to this church and write an article about the church. So in the midst of it, he's new to the neighborhood. So he's trying to gather information about this church because it's been there so long and everybody knows this church. And in the midst of it, trying to gather facts about the church and all of this, what he's actually gathering is a bunch of tea about the pastor of the church and some of the goings on of the church. And that's kind of the basis of the story. It's kind of, he is being exposed to what literally goes on between pews after service and that kind of thing. So that's what, pardon me, ends up happening. Funny part is, when the book was released, of course, people in my neighborhood are just so messy. They were running around trying to figure out what church was I really talking about. So that was kind of funny, and I kind of just let it play out. I let it play itself out in my neighborhood and let it sell more books. I just didn't worry about it. But yeah, and everybody just wanted to know what church was that, and I'm like, child, whatever. But that was kind of funny. But yeah, that's Between Pews. It is available. The book's available in paperback as well as in Kindle version at Amazon.com. And of course, my name is James Caldwell, and it's spelled Colwell. But that's it. Between Pews. Go check it out. Go grab a copy. I had a fun time writing it. It was a little aggravating at times, like I said, because it made me question some things. And there's also a love triangle. You guys know I told you I love to write about love triangles. So there's a love triangle inside of the book too. So I had a lot of fun with that. But that's it. That's the story behind Between Pews. All right, guys. Bye.